Hey guys. So if you watched my Amazon locker video yesterday, then you know that this is the eyeshadow palette that I was talking about that I ordered from Amazon. And that's the only way you can get this eyeshadow palette is to order it from Amazon. The brand is Lamora, but the listing on the Amazon website has got this really long description for the title, and it doesn't even have the brand name in the description. It just says Best Pro Eyeshadow Palette Makeup Matte Shimmer 16 colors, blah blah blah. It's like this long, and it doesn't even have the name in the title. But the seller is the brand itself. And as far as this company goes, the palette comes in a box and it has a UK address on it, so it's a UK based brand, I would assume. But it doesn't have a country of origin as far as where it's made. And I thought they had to do that by law, list that, because it isn't listed on the box. It just has like the name of the company, but it doesn't say made in the UK. So I don't know. Anyway, here it is, the Lamora Exposed Nudes. I paid $13.95 for this on Amazon. I did have to pay for shipping. I had to pay $7.98 for shipping, but that was my choice. If I had ordered some more items to make my order $25 or more, I could have got free shipping. So you can't really count that. So $13.95, so less than $14. There are 16 shades in this palette. I feel like this is the perfect size palette. When you get these big, huge palettes, it's sometimes difficult to store them. And then if you have a palette that's really small, it doesn't give you any choices. It doesn't give you any variety to play. So 16 shades, I think, is about perfect. So when you open up the palette, it says, be your own kind of beautiful. So nice message. And then there are the shadows. And like I said, this is the Exposed Nudes palette, so it has, a very nude theme to it. Now, when I look at this, it looks to me, the vibe that I get from this is like the first three Urban Decay Naked palettes all rolled into one. That's what it makes me think of as far as the color scheme goes. Reminds me so much of that. And the shape of the pans, of course, too. However, the formula is not like Urban Decay. When I first got this and got it home and opened it up, I immediately started to touch it and do swatches. And my first impression of it was that I didn't like it and I was disappointed because the formula is very dry and it's the type of formula that you will get some fallout as you're putting it on your brush. You can see where it like kicks up the product, and when you go to put it on your face, it crumbles a little bit, some of the colors. And I'm going to insert a clip right here so you can actually see the application of what I did today, and then I'll come back and talk to you a little bit more about it. So I'm just applying the shade Cream right now on my brow bone. It's a really subtle, sort of a pinky beige, so also putting it in the inner corners. Yeah, this is a very subtle highlight shade, but I kind of like that sometimes because I find most palettes it's too shimmery. Then I'm going in with Pearly, which is a beautiful pink pearl, sort of a rosy pink. And I don't think you'll be able to see it, but there is fallout falling onto my face as I'm applying this. But it blends beautiful. And I used the Amuse eyeshadow primer at the beginning of the clip, and it just applies beautiful over that. I tried several different eyeshadow primers with this palette, and I do see a variation in the way the shadows apply over the different brands, but that says more about the eyeshadow brands themselves, the eyeshadow primer brands themselves, than it does about the eyeshadow. Then I went in with the shade Wood, and this is the most gorgeous brown. I have a lot of brown eyeshadows in a lot of different palettes, and this one is just stunning. It's just the most beautiful color, and it blends beautifully. It's pigmented, but it's not so pigmented that it's difficult to work with. It's sort of the perfect balance. I find a lot of these shadows in this palette to be that way. The only shadow in the palette that is crazy pigmented is Espresso, and it's the dark brown, and that one you have to be very careful with because it could go wrong very easily. And the rest of them are variation between not very pigmented and you just have to build it to like medium pigmentation. So at the end of this clip, I added eyeliner and mascara, and that's what you're seeing at the beginning and the end of the video with my look. I'm just putting a little bit of that same shade now, Wood, right along the lower lash line. And I'm just very slowly building this because I like to really take my time when I put color along the lash line, because I don't like it to be too dark and go in with a larger brush and then not be able to remove it. Now, something I wanted to mention is when I placed my order, after I placed my order, I got an email from the company itself, and they were giving me like tips and tricks to work with the eyeshadow palette and get better results. And basically they were saying to use an eyeshadow primer, and they said some of the shades perform better when wet. So you could either dip your brush in a shadow and then spray your brush with a setting spray and apply it that way, or you could just do your whole look and then spray a little bit of setting spray at the end. So that's what I'm going to do right now, just so you can see if there is a difference between just my dry application the way I have it here, or with a little bit of setting spray. They also made it a point in the email to say not to oversaturate the eyeshadows either. So you just want to try to do like a light mist if you can. And they didn't recommend doing it this way. I just wanted to see what would happen if I did, as opposed to like wetting my brush. They also said in the email not to wet your brush and then dip it in the eyeshadow, because you could ruin the eyeshadow, which is true of any eyeshadow. So I've got some MAC Fix Plus, and I'm just going to try to do like a light mist, which is not that easy because sometimes the spritzer on this is a bit overly aggressive. Okay, so I tried to just do a small amount. Oh, what am I doing? I've got my fan here that I can use. So used to not having one. That definitely helps. Okay, so now that we look at it up close, it looks like that pearly shade, the light shade that I used on my lids, does have a little bit more of a shine to it. So the setting spray definitely brings the shadows to life a little bit. So knowing everything that I know now, because I've used this palette 3 times now. If you go back 2 videos, I used Champagne and Satin, which is the gold, and this brown shade right here. I used that 2 videos ago. Well, I had it on, I should say. And then in yesterday's video, I had mauve and I had the black, which is Luxury. And then today I used Pearly and Wood, and then cream is my highlight. But knowing what I know now, would I purchase this again? I absolutely would. Some eyeshadows have that drier, powdery formula, but if I like the end result, that doesn't matter to me. And it also doesn't matter to me that some of the shades aren't that pigmented, because you can just build them up a little bit more and they blend beautifully. And that is key to me, because if an eyeshadow is super pigmented, sometimes it's difficult to blend and it's hard to work with. So I don't mind that these are a drier formula and most of them aren't crazy pigmented. I would buy this again in a heartbeat. I think the looks that I'm getting out of it are so pretty. They have 2 other palettes on their site on Amazon, their page, and one of them is too similar to this that I would bother to get it, because it's just another nude palette with a slight variation of the colors. However, they have a palette that is all matte, and I might get that one. I just placed another Amazon order yesterday morning, so I don't want to order it, place another order right away. But once I have some time to think about it, I might get the matte palette to try it out, because the only matte shades in this palette are the cream that I use as a highlight, and then Espresso, this dark brown. So there aren't any mattes that are like an in-between shade that you could use as a crease or a transition shade. So I'm kind of curious, if I had a whole palette of mattes, how they would perform, because I don't really have that much to go on with this one. But there isn't a lot of, there's no glitter in this palette. These shades are shimmery, not glittery, and I like that. One of my biggest criticisms of Urban Decay shadows throughout the years was that there's way too much glitter in their shadows and it goes all over the place, and I don't like it when I get glitter in my eyes. That can actually be painful and it could even cause damage. So I would much prefer that shadows were shimmery rather than glittery, and that's what these are. These just have a beautiful, smooth shimmer to them, and I really like this palette. I'm glad that I got it, and I think, though, that with the standards that we judge eyeshadow palettes by, that a lot of people would think that this wasn't good quality because of the way it is with the formula, but I like it, and I would buy this again in a heartbeat. So big thumbs up for the Lamora Exposed Nudes palette, and I enjoyed that very much. So thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed my review of this palette, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.